Who is the judge of man? It is he and only he that gave out his one and only begotten Son to die for us all because of his unending love. The one that we hear, ask for help always to spread our message to the whole world. Good vibes soul. Hit that like and subscribe button and join us on making a significant change in this earth by talking about honesty, peace, forgiveness, kindness, love, my friend, repentance, other good vibes, virtues that can cross your mind, my friend. And all this, we spread them as we react to videos, mind blowing videos, others that are funny, educative, hilarious, and even wild. All for you, my friend. Leave your comments down below and let me add strength to your soul to do good things, my friend, and to hear and get a different perspectives of this video. Hear this: God's righteous judgment. Romans 2:1 going down. You, therefore, have no excuse, you who pass judgment on someone else. For at whatever point you judge the other, you are condemning yourself, because you who pass judgment do the same things. Now, we know that God's judgment against those who do such things is based on truth. So, when you, a mere man, pass judgment on them and yet do the same things, do you think you will escape God's judgment? Or do you show contempt for the riches of his kindness, tolerance, and patience, not realizing that God's kindness leads you toward repentance? Interesting. Good vibe soul. We should all love one another equally. Do not judge. Spread love to everyone. Let's talk with our maker and creator before we start the show of today and ask for their love in our lives. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. We come before you, Father, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. We glorify you for this day, Father. Thank you for your wonderful child, Father, that we are with today here. Bless them abundantly through this video, Father. Thank you for the word we've read from the book of wisdom. Help us, Father, for the word to grow in us, dear Lord. As we react to the videos, guide us, Father. Give us a mind of truth and love, Father. And these viewers' lives, may our Lord, may they be transformed, Father, and forgive them all their sins. Uplift them, dear Lord, and as you include us too. In your holy name, Jesus Christ, we do pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Let's dive in good vibes, sus.
Throughout my entire experience of life, I never knew what a true mirror was. And I didn't even know something like this existed until I seen this shit. My homegirl ended up going to Dallas for spring break. I stayed my black ass home in Atlanta. So she called me about 2 days ago, boo-hoo crying for no reason. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with you? She said she just looked in a true mirror for the first time, and what she seen back looks nothing like her, to the point it fucked up her whole worldview. You can look up true mirror reactions and you're gonna see exactly what I'm talking about. Nobody is satisfied with the results. The way she explained it was like the inverted filter on crack. And if you never tried the inverted filter, my nigga, do it at your own discretion. Bro, that shit will have you looking at yourself completely different. Like, I looked at myself through the inverted filter and I looked botched. Like, bro, my face looked crooked. I'd never seen anything like that before. Sometimes you wish we could play life through the third person, like Minecraft, or Fortnite, or Apex. Because there's no way in hell I have to ask a person how I look. Because I'd never seen my true face before.
Okay. This is a regular mirror. So this is how you've always seen yourself. Okay. Now notice your eyes within a few seconds. See how you're just sort of staring right now. Yeah. Because this is what mirrors do. They kind of they stop the communication. Your eyes don't really work properly. Okay. Now come to the middle. Okay. Now you're seeing your eyes without them being backwards. And it turns out they work this way. Like, see that light in your eyes? It's light with meaning for why you're actually expressing, like what you're saying with your face. And since it matches, you can smile back.
So cool.
And of course, you can see your left hair part.
You're recording the reaction.
Yeah, that's great.
Holy shit.
Now come back to the side and see how quickly it goes away.
And you just go dead.
Like try to smile, and it's always fake. It doesn't, because the light doesn't match, and you're in an instantaneous feedback loop with yourself, with that information distortion, so it changes you.
It's so crazy, baby. You gotta try this.
In there is far
You have to try this. This is a profound experience.
So the whole object is you can actually see
You know what?
yourself.
'Cause you're scared.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's like a little, like tentative to when you say a true mirror.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna like what I see, or something like that. But it's actually you love what you see.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And not for nothing, it's
Yeah.
because you are beautiful.
Yeah, it's
I
so
mean, it's like it's reflecting of what's actually there.
so cool, man.
I have no idea.
It's so.
And so your whole life, that's who you've seen.
Yeah.
And it really, it's for everyone. The entire human race has had this going on. And it messes with us in all different ways because everyone's different. And it's a feedback loop with distortion, so you don't really know where it's going to go. Whereas here, the natural you is you're just another human being, a particularly beautiful one.
I'm gonna set.
Hey, this is John. I'm going to explain today what makes a true mirror, and kind of also why it's so expensive. I wish it wasn't, but there's a lot that goes into it to make it optically correct. So basically a true mirror is just two mirrors at right angles, okay? I'm actually looking into one right now. But if you notice, then when I'm looking at you, there's no line in the middle, and that's really key because that line goes right through your eyes. And the way you get rid of that line is that you use front surface mirrors. It's basically the aluminum reflective surface is on the front instead of behind the glass. This makes it so when the two mirrors touch, silver is touching silver. And the second part is it actually has to be 90.00 degrees. I mean, literally, it's kind of crazy. And it has to be adjustable because temperature will knock it out of alignment. See that space there? That's actually because the surface is behind the glass instead of in front of it. So this doesn't work, as you'll see when I make a mirror out of both of these. So this is what it looks like with front surface mirror, where you can see that the screw tip is actually touching itself. And this is important because that means that when the two mirrors come together, the two reflective surface can touch. There's no line where the light has to go into the glass and come back out sideways. So this is where I made a non-reversing mirror using regular glass. And if you notice, basically there's this big line in the middle, and that line goes right through your eyes. It's very distracting. Now here's the thing, you can still try to use this, especially for the concept of being able to really see yourself. So you can do this at home, but that line is very distracting, as opposed if you come over to the true mirror, you can see how there's like literally no line whatsoever. So the front surface mirror is actually much more expensive than regular mirror. Also, it's hard to work with. You have to get that cut completely precise in order for that line to be invisible. But compared to two regular mirrors, it's like night and day. It's really just getting the optics right. And as long as you do, you can make eye contact. You can actually see yourself as you are, the way we see you, and interact with yourself the way we interact with you, and see the magic of you being yourself as a real human being, and get past this backwards version, this guy, which really changes you. And this is what my other videos are talking about. What are you seeing?
Oh yeah, she's good.
Yeah.
She's good. But then over here, there's nothing there, like a cardboard face. But you I want to talk to. You! I have a jaw in this one. Wow. You need therapy. I don't know what's happening. Are you okay? But you... Oh, yeah.
So that's the thing. It's like when it's saying you can ask questions of yourself. Yeah. So one of the best questions is, am I okay?
Am I okay? I'm okay. We're doing okay. You not so much. You need a hug. You? I genuinely feel that. That's really wonderful.
Isn't that cool?
I want one.
So what are you seeing different, like in your eyes, for instance?
I see joy in my eyes here, like very clearly, which I feel, but I do not.
Yeah.
I rarely see
So,
it
yeah.
here.
Stand square to this one. So that joy,
Yeah.
Usually manifests as like, light in your eyes and happiness.
This immediately feels, if I try to even smile, it feels like ick. Like it feels like that's not actually real, but I look here and I instantly, there's like a heart connection here.
But come back to here, to the side. So this version has been with you your whole life.
Yeah.
And no one told you that that's not you. So what that does to you in terms of your self-image and your confidence and understanding, it's a crazy mindfuck.
It's very bizarre. Yeah, my whole life, this is who I have seen.
And it's very familiar.
It's very familiar. Yeah, and this is like, I can't not, it feels good for me.
And you were standing with your friend, and you both had these huge smiles.
Yeah.
You want to come over?
Yeah. Okay. It's your moment.
I don't want to be on social media.
Oh, you want to be? Okay, so we won't do that then.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I can't not smile here, which is really bizarre.
And to me, the smile is just one expression. It's just one that you can't do backwards. But your other expressions, like if you're angry or you're upset or you're whatever, your face has all this nuance about what's really going on. And you can really learn from yourself this way.
I think a year ago, 2 years ago, I would have looked into this mirror and cried. But I've had a lot of things transpire, and it feels good to like be surprised by my own joy here.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice work.
Nice work. I'm just gonna stand here all night. They'll find me in the kitchen in the morning.
Susan's gonna, okay, you can go home now.
You can go, who is she? Who brought her?
Wow, my friends. So far so good. I've realized I could also myself need one of those true mirrors. My friend, have you ever used one of those? You good vibe soul watching, have you ever come across a true mirror? From the impressions I've seen from different good vibe souls, I think I would like to give it a try and see how it goes. Anyway, fantastic. Thanks for reaching up to this point. Man, I've come across lots of interesting videos. This issue about the true mirror thing, it's quite mind-blowing good vibe source. You see, you my friend there watching. Have you ever yourself stood in front of a true mirror? How was the reaction? Tell us really if you'd like to know it direct from you, my friends. You see, that way we'll get to understand more about it. Anyway, more interesting stuff coming up. I hope you've already hit that button and help us grow the numbers, my friend, and reach lots of souls out there. Let's continue watching. Now, this is new stuff coming up.
You ever notice how the guy who actually knows what he's talking about is the one people listen to? The Bible says an intelligent heart acquires knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. If you want to be credible as a leader, a husband, a father, you need to be a man of knowledge, a man who reads, studies, and seeks the truth, a man who knows about things and how to do things. Because in a world full of noise, the man with the wisdom is the man with the influence.
Ocean legends and myths iceberg, sunken/lost places. This reminds me of things like Atlantis or the Phantom Island Bermeja. Atlantis was first mentioned, by Plato back around 300 BC. He talked about this powerful advanced civilization that sunk to the ocean floor after a catastrophic event. Some scholars think that the story was likely inspired by events like the volcanic eruption of Thera around 1600 BC, which is modern-day Santorini. This volcanic eruption absolutely devastated the Minoan civilization, and while some believe it was an actual place, others just believe it was a metaphor for something. Bermeja, on the other hand, is an alleged phantom island. It was this island off the coast of the Yucatan that Mexico said existed, but then in the 1990s, people went to survey the island, and they realized it didn't exist, so they started calling it a phantom island, or like an island that disappeared. But in reality, it was very likely that Mexico just said it existed so they could extend their oil reach, or even the guy who made the map of Mexico used this island to make like a signature so people wouldn't copy his map. But there's even some people think that there's like this conspiracy about how the CIA bombed this island out of existence, but that is extremely unlikely. Old world sea monsters. So, especially around the more ancient times, the sea was basically the embodiment of chaos. We see this in a lot of like old world maps. They contain things like sea dragons and sea serpents and like kraken-like creatures. So virtually across all cultures that have contact with the sea, we have seen seen throughout history sea monsters depicted. The oldest of these sea monsters is likely in the Old Testament of the Bible, where they talk about the Leviathan, which is usually described as a terrifying sea monster that's often depicted as like a sea serpent or a sea dragon, which probably also was just supposed to represent chaos. But of old world sea monsters, the Kraken might be the most popular in modern day. This was talked about a super long time ago, like back around 1180 AD. King Sverre of Norway started talking about this giant squid-like creature that would sink ships close to Norway or around Norway. But he also went on about how there was hordes of other sea monsters that were similar to it that protected the shore of Norway. So it's probably just like a warning to people that wanted to attack Norway. The green flash. So this is a real thing that happens where people see a green flash right at the horizon around sunset or sunrise. This happens in places where you have like an unobstructed view of the horizon, such as like at the ocean. It usually only happens for just 1 second or less than a second, and it's just caused by an optical phenomenon of the sun going below the water and it makes it green. I really like the green flash because in Pirates of the Caribbean, there was this mythology in there about how whenever a soul returned from the dead, you would see the green flash. Rogue waves. So rogue waves was actually thought to be just like a tall tale that sailors told all the way up until like the 80s. So it wasn't until 1964 that the first evidence scientifically for rogue waves came about, and that was mainly because there was offshore oil rigs and they had cameras on them, and that's how they figured it out. They thought it was just made up. But there's a really famous example of a rogue wave, the Dropner wave. It was 84 feet tall, and it was recorded in the North Sea in 1995. But rogue waves are basically just a giant wave that is like 2 to 3 times taller than other waves around it, and it can happen at any random time in the ocean. It's really pretty freaky. Carnivorous seaweed. So there's this weird thing called the Sargasso Sea, and basically it's the only sea in the world that isn't surrounded by land. Rather, it's just this oval of water that's about 2,000 miles wide that revolves clockwise like an eye of a hurricane, and it actually sits about 6 feet higher than the rest of the ocean. So the Sargasso Sea area houses this thing called the golden rainforest of the ocean, which is just these massive floating mats of sargassum seaweed. Back in the day, the sailors would always tell stories about how they were terrified of this place, and they even called it the horse latitudes because this one ship got stuck in the Sargasso Sea and they didn't have any wind, and so they were running out of water, so they threw their horses overboard to preserve drinking water. According to folklore about this area, a number of crews have gotten trapped inside of the Sargasso Sea and eaten by the seaweed. And there's a few incidences where they found ships floating without a crew, but most of those incidences may have just been legends, such as the Ellen Austin ship. The El Tanin antenna. So there was this Antarctic research ship that was photographing the seafloor off the coast of Antarctica, and they were taking pictures roughly 13,000 feet deep when they found this strange antenna. This thing looked like it was man-made or made by something, as it had like 90-degree angles and it looked very artificial. And so this picture was taken back in 1964 and everybody was puzzled, and it became a big deal on TV and in magazines at the time. People were calling it a lost piece of technology, and people were saying it was like an ancient planetary grid antenna or like a UFO alien artifact. Although later on in 1971, they classified it as a type of carnivorous sea sponge. But what's really strange is it looks very non-organic, and it looks like it's got, these 90-degree angles, and it just doesn't seem to me like a sea sponge, but it probably is. The experts, I guess, know what they're talking about. Lemuria. In 1864, this zoologist was trying to figure out why lemur fossils were in Madagascar and in India, but not in Africa or the Middle East. And so this guy proposed the idea of a lost continent that used to be right there that connected those two landmasses. But for some reason, this idea of Lemuria turned into more of an occultist belief that Lemuria was a cradle of ancient wisdom in like a lost utopian society where there was these giant 15 feet tall people with 4 arms and they laid eggs. But also that Lemuria had a capital city called Telos. And Telos was for some reason located beneath a mountain in California, Mount Shasta. And that Telos is still there, and there's a huge underground city where the Lemurian survivors escaped to. But they also believe that some of the Lemurian high-up leaders transformed into things like dolphins and whales and mermaids, and then went into the ocean while their continent was collapsing. Anyways, Lemuria is also kind of interchanged with the name Mu, the lost continent of Mu, which is also associated with Atlantis. Giant dragonfish. So basically, way back in the day in 1932, this guy created this primitive deep-sea submersible diving bell, and it was called BB's Bathysphere. It was a rounded steel ball with barely enough space for 2 people, which was, terrifying to begin with. But then they took this metal ball down 2,100 feet deep off the coast of Bermuda. This is when they encountered these 2 fish that he described as being strange and never before seen. He said they were 6 feet long and that they resembled barracudas and that they were bioluminescent. They had these strong palish blue lights that were strung down their body, and he classified them as dragonfish. However, none of the fish that BB described has been confirmed to exist to this day. But I mean, as big as the ocean is, I would not be surprised that back in like the 1930s, they saw fish that maybe we're not seeing today. Just because of the idea of, like ships traveling over the ocean have made some fish go deeper into the ocean, or maybe there are fish that are no longer existing because of just the overall human impact on the areas, especially like Bermuda.
I worked in the nursing home, and you want to know the only thing the elderly talked about? Their family, their kids, their grandkids, their brothers, their sisters. Literally, that's it. That's all I can recall. Now, they may have talked about vacations or like other things, here and there, but majority of the time it was family. It was their kids, their grandkids. I remember this one guy specifically, he was my favorite. He talked about him building his first home for him and his wife and his children, and they had that home, their whole life together. And then he talked about how when his kids got older and had their own kids, they all came back to the home and had dinners and all of this together in that one home that he built with his 2 hands. He was so proud of that, and he was proud of it because his family was a part of that. It was so interesting. I loved working with the elderly. I love them so much. Geriatrics is what I should call them, but I love them so much. And man, they taught me a lot.
So most people don't listen with their ears, they listen with their trauma. They listen with their triggers. And this is exactly why therapy doesn't always work. Because you could spend years talking about what happened, but never address what you told yourself about who you are because of it. And that's where the real trauma lives. Trauma isn't the event. It's the shame-based view you formed about yourself in response to the event. It's not the cheating, it's not the yelling, it's not the loss. It's the voice that said, because it happened, I am bad, I am damaged, I am unlovable. Let me break it down so it's crystal clear. Every trauma has 3 parts, and I'll label each one. The event, trauma, response. Example 1, your spouse cheats. Event, betrayal. Trauma, I wasn't enough. Response, you stop trusting. You sabotage healthy relationships before they get close. Example 2, you were constantly compared to others. Event, favoritism or unrealistic expectations. Trauma, I'm not enough as I am. Response, you become a perfectionist or you give up entirely. Example 3, you were emotionally neglected as a child. Event, no comfort, no validation, no affection. Trauma, I don't matter. I have to earn love. Response, you perform in relationships, you chase love, or you avoid it altogether. And then there are trauma responses so deeply wired into the nervous system that we start calling them disorders. Let's talk about ADHD. It's not just a brain issue, it's a trauma response. And it shows up in 2 very different ways. First, attention deficit. tuning out. Event, a child filled with overwhelm, chaos, and disconnection. Trauma, it's not safe to stay present. Response, the nervous system disassociates, zoning out, forgetting. The brain learns to leave the moment the world feels too much. Second, hyperactivity, tuning in. Event, a childhood of unpredictability or powerlessness. Trauma, if I don't control what's around me, I'll lose control of myself. Response, you become restless, you interrupt, you fix, plan, and push. You try to stay ahead, not to be annoying, but to survive. Both are adaptations, both are brilliant, and both become problems when we don't understand what they're trying to protect us from. Now imagine these two trauma responses falling in love. Event, two nervous systems shaped by trauma enter a relationship. Trauma, one believes connection is dangerous. The other believes disconnection is danger. Response, one shuts down, the other clings. One disappears, the other controls. And now they're triggering each other's deepest fears. I've lived this. I used to respond with hyperactivity. I used to try to control my environment to feel safe. And I was in a relationship with someone that tuned out because their childhood taught them that shutting down was the safest option. So when I got more intense, they pulled away. And when they pulled away, I got more intense. Neither of us was trying to hurt the other. We were just two trauma response bombs trying to fight the nervous system loop. People talk a lot about attachment styles, anxious versus avoidant. Here's what I've come to believe. Avoidant attachment is attention deficit, tuning out to feel safe. Anxious attachment is hyperactivity, tuning in to try to manage disconnection. They're not love styles, they're trauma responses. And when they collide, it's not toxic, it's just unhealed. It's two scared children on a playground throwing emotional rocks with no adult self around to stop it. Let me tell you my story. Event, I was adopted, bounced from place to place, and I was violated in a way that no child should ever experience. Trauma, I was a sweet boy, but I told myself, I'm not lovable. I must be the mistake. Something's wrong with me. My body isn't safe. I am damaged. I carried all of that, not just in my mind, but in my body and in my breath, my nervous system, my relationships. So let me ask you, are you trying to heal by changing what happened, or are you trying to heal by letting go of what you believed about yourself because of what happened? Because that belief, that's what created your trauma responses. Some people become anxious, always chasing love. Some people become avoidant, always terrified to let someone in. Some become rigid, high functioning, image controlled, unreachable. But every single one of those responses was built to protect you. You're not broken, you adapted. And adaptation is proof of resilience. So if this hits something in you, drop a comment below and share what's a story you told yourself about yourself that you've been carrying ever since. You're not alone, and you're allowed to let go.
The longer I look at this image, the more anxiety it gives me. And I realize it takes a moment for your brain to really take in all that's going on here. But first of all, this is a real photo. This is not some AI generated thing. This is in Dallas, Texas. It's the infamous High Five interchange. It's called the High Five because it is 5 levels of crisscrossing exits and off-ramps and highway. And part of what makes me anxious about it is the knowledge that this top road up here is 120 feet above the bottom lane here. That's a 12-story drop. This tangled nightmare is where 2 highways, 75 and 635, meet. To make this whole thing work required 43 bridges, over 700 concrete pillars. And if you were to unspool all of this and straighten it out, you would have 60 miles of roadway. I don't know, is it just me? Because just imagining driving on this kind of makes my palms sweaty.